Showdown between Silicon Valley and the White House appears to be diffused, but it's left some unanswered questions about free speech and privacy. On Friday, Twitter dropped a lawsuit against the Homeland Security Department. The suit was filed after DHS officials issued a summons demanding Twitter reveal who was behind an anti-Trump account.
The account, called Alt Immigration, criticizes the Department of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. It's one of many accounts that mimic and mock government agencies. CBS News Justice reporter Paula Reed has been following the developments closely. She's in our Washington bureau. Paula, good morning.
Good morning.
First off, why did the government withdraw its demand to find out who's behind these tweets?
Well, I've read the request that they sent to Twitter, and it's not clear why they were looking at this account in the first place, although it does suggest that they believe that it is legitimate and tweeting out legitimate information. You don't issue a summons for a random Twitter account or a random Twitter troll. So it does appear that they believe this is a legitimate account, but when Twitter sued, it was clear they weren't going to win in court, and they withdrew their request.
So, Paula, do you think the goal here when the government issued that summons was to have a deterrent effect on accounts like this?
I do. I really do think that that was the goal of this, to put them on notice that the government is trying to get information about who's behind this account, but it had the complete opposite effect. This account now has tens of thousands of new followers. So while they were trying to get information about this account, all they really succeeded in doing is bringing this account to the attention of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people.
There are a lot of these so-called alt accounts, Paula. How far does the First Amendment extend to protect anonymous speech like this?
Anonymous speech, political speech, there are broad protections under the Constitution. They want you to be able to speak out against the government and do it anonymously if you fear retaliation. And if some of these accounts are actually staffed by people who are in the government, they certainly have reason to fear retaliation. So they will have broad protection so long as they are not inciting or calling for any kind of violence.
Paula, this is not the first time Washington has faced off with Silicon Valley. Most recently, in the wake of the San Bernardino shooting, the FBI and Apple faced off over access to data on the terrorist's phone. Why is it so difficult for Washington to take on Silicon Valley?
Silicon Valley is a formidable opponent for the federal government. They have a lot of money. They have fantastic lawyers, many of whom are previous high-level federal attorneys. And most importantly, they have the support of their customer base when they go to protect privacy. And Alex, what's so interesting about this specific case is here, they weren't arguing over information on the phone of a terror suspect. They appeared to be targeting, the federal government appeared to be targeting political dissent. And if that is how the whole tech v. federal government fight is going to play out over the next few years, the government is going to have a really tough time because the tech sector is going to have the support of their customers, their competition, and a lot of the American public.
The ACLU, Paula, said this was a victory for free speech. But, I mean, is it possible we could see more cases like this, you think?
Well, I think you will see more fights between the tech sector and the federal government, specifically over encryption. We've had people say, yes, they're going to continue their lawsuits over encryption, perhaps targeting WhatsApp or some of these other apps. But this is a little unexpected, targeting these Twitter accounts. We also can't forget Twitter is one of the president's favorite methods of communication. So it's an interesting path for the so-called resistance to try to really troll him, which is what they're doing on Twitter.
That's a very good point. Paula Reed, thank you very much.